All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call tonight's board meeting of the Salford School District Board of Trustees to order. Would any kids like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's plan for this.
Please stand. Remove your hats and coats. Turn and face the flag. Please place your right hand over your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. Well done. Nice. Right. A recording and our broadcast of this meeting is being made at the direction of the board, which may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. I will now call the roll. Brian?
Present.
Vladimir?
Present.
Jim?
Present.
Stella?
Here.
And I too am here. I should call the roll and then done the pledge of allegiance. Agenda approval. Would any board members like to provide comment on tonight's?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I've got a question about something on the consent calendar. There. About the sign, the school sign at Egan, and what funds are being used to pay for that?
That'll be a PTA funding project, so the Egan PTA will be funding the marquee for Egan.
So did you want to pull it off of consent?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Okay, then may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Vladimir. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stella. Motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented was made by Vladimir, seconded by Stella. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion passes unanimously. Closed session report. No action was taken in closed session tonight. Superintendent's update. Mrs. McGonigal.
All right, a few updates for you. I'm going to start with what I know you're aware of as our incredibly sad news that we lost one of our teachers last week, Jason Braun, one of our really fantastic elementary music teachers. It has been a difficult week for our staff, for our students. And really just wanted to acknowledge, I think of back in January, Jason and Joe Chan came to the LAF board meeting to do their mission moment to talk about how much they love teaching our students and how proud they are to work in our district. And you could just hear Jason talking about the love for his work with kids. So I want to thank, I know Aaron is here, been working really closely with his family to make sure they have what they need. And we continue to make sure our kids and our staff are cared for during this time, but it's really horrible news.
It really hurts when it's a member of the.
I know.
You want to take a brief moment of silence? Sure. Can we take a brief moment of silence?
Absolutely. I think on that, a great second item is thank you all who were able to attend our junior high wellness center openings. It was great to see the groups gathered both at Egan and at Block last week to officially open our wellness centers. So students at Block and Egan have time and a space to really go and learn some strategies for their own mental health and overall wellness, and then be able to connect with another targeted support. So it's really great. We're so thrilled that those centers are both open. Thank you to our multiple grants that are helping to fund those pieces. I wanted to give you an update. I think Kay, and I'm not sure if Kay is here, last board meeting mentioned that Gardner had hosted the spelling bee, the district-wide first ever spelling bee. And our Loyola sixth grade students student, Nina Nama, won the county spelling bee.
Oh, wow.
And is going to the state,
Wow.
which will be held in Manteca. But really exciting. So we wish her well and hope that she kills it at the state level spelling bee, but that's really exciting. Also wanted to let you know that our AI event that's happening on March 28th after school, 3:30 over at Block, we closed it. We are at capacity. We've had 125 people register, which is fantastic. So we had to close it just to be able to logistically work through it. So we'll see how this one goes and potentially have a second one in the fall sometime. But really excited and working closely with Mountain View High School, and Grace Choi with us is kind of leading the charge, which is terrific. And then lastly, I think for my updates today, I am thrilled to announce our new Egan principal. Lisa Taramina is here. She wants to wave in the crowd. Sorry, Lisa. Lisa comes to us with huge experience, extensive experience in both elementary and at middle schools. Lots of her time spent at Cupertino Union School District as well as Union School District. We had a thorough process. For the first time ever, we had students on our panel, which is great. So we had 2 Egan students participate on the panel through our several panels. So a really thorough process. Lots of discussions with Lisa from all different facets, great reference checks. So we're so thrilled and have no doubt that she's going to make a terrific leader for Egan Junior High School. Tomorrow in the afternoon, officially, the communications will go out to staff, to families, as we're working through always the delicate timeframe. So we want to make sure to honor Lisa's communication with her community as well. So that will be going out later today, but we're super thrilled. We have a little tiny something for you, Lisa, to welcome you to the LASD community. We're super excited.
Welcome, Principal Taramina. Excited to have you. All right, now on to literally the best part of this meeting. It's our school presentation. And who do we have tonight?
It's Gardner Bullock.
So in a moment, I will be calling up my poor crew that's sitting up here in the very front row, very excited to be here tonight, and backed by their fabulous families. I'm sitting right behind them. We're really excited to be here tonight to give a little overview of some work that our 3rd graders have been doing with deeper learning, specifically in their writing process. So the lens that we're going to be taking tonight is a glimpse into how sharing their writing has helped them develop into stronger authors. And just continue to dive into that writing work. So I'm just a very, very high level. Our staff and our teachers have been doing some professional development this year around what are some different moves that the teachers can put into place for deeper learning, including different questioning strategies, hot talk protocols, authentic tasks. I think you're going to see some elements of authentic tasks while the students are talking tonight. Also opportunities to provide choice in terms of how and what students are learning about. And then tonight, we're also touching on critique and revision. And then this is also an example of them coming up to share their learning. So they are going to talk about some avenues that they've already taken to share their learning, but then they are going to be presenting their learning to you tonight as well. And so as they're talking, these are some things that I just want you to keep an ear open for in terms of, as the kids are speaking with you, do we hear a sense of the purpose behind their work? Do we hear that they were entrusted with something that was meaningful to them? How were they engaging in their community, both community of learners and then broader groups of community around the district? You're going to hear some interesting things of how they've been collaborating with Santa Rita, and I'm not going to give it away. They'll tell you all about that. And then also just learning by actually doing the writing work and diving in. So I am going to introduce, I have Natalie Cannon and Lala Warhani as the 2 3rd grade teachers, and then they are going to be introducing their fantastic students. We have Bella, Lena, Ethan, and James. So teachers, do you want to say a few words and we'll get the kids up and rolling?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be here and be able to share some of our learning experiences with our student representatives from our classes. And we hope that you can enjoy some of the things that they've been doing in the classroom.
So then students, this is your time. I'm going to bring up all four of you and right up here, right? Perfect. So right on up front and center. So Bella, we're gonna plop you right here. There we go. Yep, do you all have your pieces? Perfect. Okay, and then I will be your clicker operator and you're gonna face you're gonna face the board, okay? All right, so Bella is up first.
Good evening. My name is Bella and I am in Ms. Rahani's third grade class. Our first unit of the year was personal narratives. We drafted many stories from our own lives, then chose one narrative to take to the publishing stage. This meant drafting, revising, getting peer feedback, revising again, using a checklist, and making sure we had all the parts. Editing, and finally publishing our final draft. I wrote about kayaking in Foothills Park. The funny part is that we actually did a field trip there in third grade. To celebrate, we got to read our final draft to the other third graders from both Miss Cannon and Mr. Rahani's classes. After finishing my narrative, it felt exciting to read my story to peers. I enjoyed it and felt proud. I enjoyed listening to other third graders share their personal stories because it could help me with my writing and it's interesting. Sharing my writing with others can help me as an author because sometimes people feel scared or shy when sharing their work. So it makes you feel proud after. When I share my work, it kind of feels like I am a real author.
And before Lena starts, there's some pictures up here of the two third grade classes meeting. So they were giving feedback to their peers along the way and then a celebration at the end. And so this was a collaboration between two classrooms. And then I believe Lena is going to tell us about the collaboration between schools. So Lena, you are up.
Good evening, my name is Lena and I'm in Miss Cannon's third grade class. Our next writing unit was all about mysteries. In reading workshop, we read lots of mystery books to get ideas on how mysteries go. Then we got to map out our own mystery chapter book. I wrote a mystery about a three-headed dog. After we published our mystery book, we sent our stories over to the third grade classes at Santa Rita. They sent over their mystery books and we got to read their creations. We also gave feedback using a comment card. Finally, they sent our stories back to us with their own comments. When I was reading a mystery story from a Santa Rita student, I felt happy and thought it would be cool to see other kids' writing techniques. I enjoyed that we were both doing the same writing, but our stories were completely different. When I was writing my mystery story, knowing that other students were going to read it, made me feel very excited because I could do lots of new revisions, incorporate 2 new ideas in the mystery. When I saw Santa Rita students' comments on my story, I felt proud that they enjoyed my story and noticed all the work I put into it. Sharing my writing with others helps me as an author because I can read it aloud and catch the mistakes I want to fix. Sharing it with a new audience motivates me to continue revising my writing. Here is an excerpt from my mystery story. The next day, they turned in their homework and got 100%. They walked out of the classroom and heard a girl. Run! Chapter 2. Ah, they shouted. They ran all the way across the school. Finally, they were out of danger. What was that? It was like some kind of three-headed dog. Why would they let something like that into the school? I don't know, maybe someone accidentally let it out? We should discuss it and do some research at my place.
Ethan start his case, I believe is the next slide, a picture of the comment card. And so they had a collaboration between school sites where they were giving feedback and then thinking about how could they incorporate that into either future revisions or future writing pieces. And this partnership was so solid that I believe it continued for the next unit as well. And so Ethan is going to share, Lena shared about mystery writing and fiction, and I believe Ethan is going to be sharing about nonfiction.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ethan and I'm in Miss Mahani's class. Our third writing unit was information writing, where we wrote multiple books about topics we each felt experts on. Some kids wrote about sports, plants, and animals and holidays. I chose to write about Transformers. In reading workshop, we read lots of nonfiction books to get ideas on how they're structured. When we finished planning out our chapters of our own books, we got to create a digital book for our final version. Then we created a digital library of our books and shared it with the other third grade classes from our school and others in Los Altos. We got to check out our classmates' books. It felt really fun to be able to go talk. I was an expert with this Transformers. I really enjoyed making a digital book because I got to share about what I know about Transformers. I got to put in the timeline and gifts. It was also really cool to share my book with others and to be able to read other things that I like. Especially like reading about dogs, cars, and more. Sharing my writing with others helps me as an author because it tells me what people like and dislike about Transformers. And here's my book on Transformers.
So I'm just gonna point to it. So this is their digital bookshelf. And I know Marcy has a copy of the slides, and I know you probably don't have this in front of you, but if you want to get it from Marcy, she can give you access to all of the kids' digital books. And so they've been checking them out, between classes and across school sites. So this one is Ethan's on Transformers. And then following that, we have, big round of applause for Ethan. So they follow that idea of information writing into argument and opinion writing about something that they are passionate about, something that feels authentic and real to them. And so James is going to be sharing with us about the argument persuasive pieces that they've been working on.
Good evening. My name is James and I'm in Miss Cannon's class. Our most recent writing unit was all about persuasive writing. Before we started writing, we analyzed a mentor essay to identify the pieces of a convincing argument speech I've set our writing. Next, we identified problems that affected the Gardner Bowles community, including students, staff, and families. Then we had to name a solution as a claim. We then worked in teams to brainstorm supporting reasons, evidence, and counter-evidence. You can see it by work in the photo. All of these ideas helped us elaborate and strengthen our drafts. Finally, we presented our final drafts to our classmates as patients. It felt like I could really make a big change when I identified a way to make Gardner-Bowles better for myself and other students. I decided that we need lockers for students. Writing about my own community helped me because I knew what was happening that time and thought of ways I could make it better and fix problems. Here is one of my argument paragraphs. Another reason is that lockers can help people be organized. Some of the lower cubbies are plane wrecks. Lockers will have hooks and shelves. This will keep our books, backpacks, and coats and supplies organized. You might be thinking that students just be careful in the future. Let me explain that cubbies do not have any shelves in them. You still might be thinking we could install shelves and hooks. Let me explain that construction will distract the class time. Also, four people say that people stole their stuff. Another student said that lockers are more spacious. 20 out of 24 students say that we should have lockers. If we were organized, we will find all of our supplies much easier. Finding our supplies quickly will decrease our wait time, which will mean there will be less class time wasted. Writing to adults like my teachers, Mrs. Kernhardt, and other Los Altos School District members made me feel nervous, but also excited because I haven't shared with such a big audience that often. Then sharing my writing with others helps me as an author because it helps me think of new ideas and makes my writing stronger. When I was working on my locker unit, someone mentioned that our cubbies are like tiny cubes, while lockers have shelves and hooks, and this gave me more to write about. And I would like to present you with some of our persuasive writing pieces. We hope you consider our recommendations.
And they did some repairs with their persuasive writing. It is being delivered to me at the same time. It is being delivered to all of you. So I hope we enjoy the feedback and ideas that our downstairs have drummed up about Gardner. So thank you all, 4 of you, for coming out tonight and for sharing with us about your writing process and how sharing makes you grow stronger as authors. Are there any questions from the board?
I have a question. What is your favorite style of writing? Because you guys learned about all these different styles. Which one do you like the best? Each of you.
I liked the persuasive and the information.
I like the persuasive and the mystery writing.
I like the informational writing and the persuasive writing.
I like the informational writing and the persuasive writing because, well,
Well, I think all your parents are in trouble. That's wonderful. I am so happy.
Did you do most of your writing in the classroom or at home?
In the classroom.
I did some at home though.
I have a comment and a question. I really like the collaboration between school sites. I think this is awesome. I know it took a lot of coordination, probably on the teacher's part, so that's great. What did you think about it? Was it useful to you to collaborate with people that you don't really know or see?
It was interesting.
Okay.
It was a bit scary, but also cool.
It sounds really good.
It was just fun.
I was nervous because you had never met that person before, but I was also excited to meet new people.
No. Great.
Just a comment, since all of you like argument and persuasive writing, I found that if you're forced to write something, then your arguments become stronger. And you figure out where your weak spots are and what you need to boost and that kind of stuff. So it makes you more persuasive. I write a lot of garbage.
Thank you all.
Alrighty, employee request to address the board. Alex? Consultant teacher calendar.
You're a little.
Can I skip the consent?
did.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, wow.
Wow.
Unexpected.
For the
Yeah.
agenda, I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Would any board members like to provide comment on the consent agenda? Okay. Then may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Vladimir. I have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Stella. Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented was made by Vladimir, seconded by Stella. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Good. Motion passes. Thank you. Sorry, Alex. Now we're ready for
Oh,
it.
all right. Glad Marcy put emotional support code. Thank gosh. Oh, it's so intimidating coming up and talking to the board. 22 TKers, no problem. Board members, it's a lot. Anyways, thank you so much for having me. Always appreciate you giving us some time. I'd really just like to come up here and talk about what the association is doing. You guys get these incredible presentations from our students to know what they're doing. But I think it's also really important to know what our Educators Association is up to. As the leader of our Teachers Association, it's really important for me to constantly revisit our mission. We sent that to you earlier this year, but again, it's Los Altos Teachers Association is dedicated to advancing the quality of education, supporting professional growth of our educators. We advocate for the needs and interests of teachers, fostering a collaborative and inclusive environment by championing fair practices, promoting ongoing professional development, and working closely with the community. We strive to enhance student achievement and ensure that every classroom is a place where learning thrives and the rights of teachers and students are upheld. So clearly, our mission is very much about our educators and most importantly, our students. They are our children. When we step into those doors with our kids, they are our kids. And that is really important to us then, that we are fostering teachers who continue their growth, which is a big part of our mission. So it's really exciting to say that we've had quite a few teachers go to some CTA sponsored conferences. We have the Good Teaching Conference. We pay for that from our association dues. Which is just an amazing conference full of educators across the state, actually, that get pulled in. Different types of learning experiences, from AI in the classroom and teaching kids about AI to teacher wellness and mental health, which we know is really important to supporting students with their mental health, and all sorts of instructional practices in between. So it's been incredible to send teachers there. We just had the equity conference that we sent one of our members to, our equity chair. She's bringing back all sorts of great stuff about not only policy, equity in school and district policies, but also, and statewide as well, but also how we practice empathy and we work with our students and we use equity within our classrooms all the time. And then we are going to a big, actually not so big, you have to get accepted into a political conference so that we can continue to strengthen that political action that we have, which is a big part of our union. But again, I just want to stress that everything we do as a teacher association, it is with children in mind. And that's why we really are proud of the strong union that we have here in Los Altos, and we're proud to advocate for teachers and students alike. So thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
I forgot to email you. Is it okay if I couldn't on it? Just wanted to send out a thank you for cabinet for continuing to reach out to CSBA to have the meetings. And even though it is a small attendance, it takes time after time to get people involved. And you never know that one person that needed to be heard that day. And so it's been really nice seeing the real effort put into finding different times, because it's also so hard because I am not available at lunch, but actually we have one or two staff that lunch is better. They would rather go at lunchtime than they would go after school. And so having multiple opportunities has been wonderful. It's also nice, honestly, that when people come to us to also be able to say there were opportunities, and we'll still hear you, but it's helpful when people say they don't feel heard to remind them that options were available. And when they hear that, sometimes it makes them more likely to come the next time. And so it's really helpful. And I hope that I know it's hard to find the time. I hope that we can make some more 30-minute ones continuing going forward, trying a few different times. I don't think they need to be super often, but a couple times a year I think is really meaningful. And it is just nice to be seen and appreciated, and especially seeing that our schedules are so wonky. And one day I think I can make it at 3:30, and that comes and goes. So thank you so much for that. I think it's just really nice to continue that collaborative relationship.
Thank you. Alrighty. To provide public comment on an agenda item, speaker cards are to be submitted to the superintendent. Speaker cards will not be accepted once public comment begins. Your name will be announced when it is your turn to speak. Community comments. This time is reserved for members of the public and employees to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. The board is not permitted to discuss or take action on non-agenda items, except to instruct the superintendent to review the matter further, report back to the board at a subsequent meeting, or place the matter on a future agenda. The board may make a brief comment or ask clarifying questions. Do we have any public comment? Okay, public comment is closed. On to action and discussion items, our teacher residency program update.
Yes, we're so happy. Erin Green and the residency team is here.
So I'm Erin Green. That's green enough. the Director of Student and Staff Services, and I'm super proud to be here. I'm not proud to present after the kids, because that's what always happens to me, but I'm super proud to be here tonight. And then before we get started, I want to point out that we have 5 of our residents. So I'm talking about our teacher residency program tonight, which is a partnership with the Santa Clara County Office of Education and the Teachers College of San Joaquin. We have 5 residents who are participating and 5 mentor teachers. And tonight we have a few friends who are going to present. But before we get started, I just want to point out a few people. All of our residents are in the back row over here. We have Amarani, you can just wave. We have Jamie. Renee is here, and then we have some fans who are, friends and family. We have Vicky Burke, who's serving as a mentor. And then, am I forgetting anyone in the audience? Did I get everyone? And then Ricardo and Joanna, who are residents, and Amanda, who is our mentor teacher, and then Kelly Lonegran, who has been our amazing partner at the county. So just briefly, they're going to be sharing with you their experience this year. And this was our first year of the residency program, so it was super exciting. We had 15 people apply. These 5 excellent employees were selected, and all of them are working in their classified positions in some capacity, as well as working in their classrooms every week and going to school at night and doing their homework, and they're here tonight. So I just want to give them a round of applause. Before I turn them loose, can we just go quickly and I'll talk briefly about just the structure. Oh, do I have it? Okay, so here's just a few little pictures of our friends. I just wanted to give you a brief overview about the program structure. So it's super intensive, door-to-door program where the residents start in the classrooms from day 1 and they're there till the end of the year, the very last day of school. They are doing everything with the teachers. They're more like co-teachers. So whatever the teacher's doing, they are seeing the full LASD experience from the beginning to the end. Like I mentioned, their coursework during the week, it's really hard to get a hold of these guys. Kelly, I think you can attest to that. But not only are the mentors and residents working together all day, they're required to meet after school. They do their homework, they're going to school at night, they're lesson planning, and they care so deeply about this. In just 1 year, they earn their teaching credential. So that's super exciting. And then finally, again, it's a year-long placement. When they graduate, their dreams and our dreams are that they're ready to teach our students in our community. Last but not least, the benefits, so many. We're growing our own right here from our staff. We're able to motivate our own staff and provide PD for our own staff by letting them, or having them pursue their credentials and them being willing to take the risk. Mutual benefits for the district and the classroom. The teachers are co-teaching. It's such a great model of collaboration for the kids to see the 2 teachers discussing, planning, assessing, talking to their families together. Super collaborative. There is a stipend, so all the mentors are given a small stipend. The residents are really given a really nice stipend to help them to be able to afford the program, and then also to work a little bit less than they normally do. And then finally, because it's a year-long program, the residents are so deeply invested in our community that it's a mutual benefit that if they are hired at the end of their time here, they are ready to jump off and they know so much already about LASD. So I talked enough, and I'm going to turn it over to you. I guess it's okay. Take it away, Joanna.
So hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Giboros. I come to the residency program through computer science, which is very natural, of course. I have my bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. I took some time off to raise my kids, as many of us do, and I was volunteering in the classroom, and it just brought me so much joy. So when this opportunity arose last year, it just seemed like a really natural fit for me. I'm a parent as well, with 3 kids who have either passed through LASD or who are still attending schools in LASD. My little one, Eleni, right back there, is with me at Oak. I have my middle schooler is attending Egan, and my high schooler was at Covington. He was at Block, and now he's in high school. So I'm also a part of the community. So it's just really special for me to be here in front of you presenting this, and just this opportunity has been amazing. So I'll talk to you a little bit about what we do in the program. I think the main benefits to us as residents is that we are there not only from day 1, but also before. So I'm seeing the entire cycle of what a teacher goes through. I'm setting up the classroom, before our students come in. I was there at the Lemonade Social to welcome kindergartners into our classroom who are really hesitant, right? About coming to school for the first time. I met their parents, I met their siblings. I know all this background information about our students, so I'm able to better serve them inside the classroom. I'm there setting up classroom expectations in the beginning of the school year, which is really important moving forward to have good classroom management. I do assessments with my mentor. We just finished report cards last night. And so I'm really basically experiencing everything you experience as a teacher, which will make me prepared next year when I do have my own classroom. And beyond that, I really deeply believe in the vision and goals of LASD, as I've come to experience them inside the classroom and through our staff meetings, the PD that we do. You know, I really believe in deeper learning protocols. I use them. I try to naturally incorporate them on a daily basis in my teaching through public speaking, like we saw here today. It was so amazing, right? Like just these things that LASD believes in and really supports teachers on. I love being part of that too. So finally, you know, because we are there from day one, we really do create a sense of community, not only with the families that are there, but also I think with the staff and other teachers. So I know, you know, as a new teacher, if I'm struggling, let's say, with a literacy lesson, I have Allison White, who was here last week. You saw her with the Eagles, right? Last week, wasn't it adorable, the team? I have a literacy expert right next door who believes in me, who knows me, because we've worked together in staff meetings. And I also have the support of my amazing principal too, who has just guided me, and beyond my mentor in the classroom, I have that mentor as well, my principal. I have all the other teachers at the Oak campus. So that's kind of my experience. I'll turn it over to Ricardo. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Really, I really have enjoyed my year.
So, hello everyone. My name is Ricardo Martin Munoz. I graduated from San Jose State University with a bachelor's in English, concentration in single subject teaching. And I've been in education for about 10 years. I've had a variety of different roles. I started at a charter school where I was a dual immersion teacher. I taught Spanish and English. I taught second grade at the charter school. I was a reading intervention teacher at one point. Before leaving the charter school, I was a dean of culture. Because of a variety of reasons, mainly the little one on that picture who's also back there. I quit my job as a dean of culture because I wanted to have a good work-life balance, and the dean of culture position wouldn't allow me to do that. And so I landed at Almond at LASD as an EL specialist and long-term. And then last year I did long-term subbing. I'll get into that in a little bit. So yeah, my daughter Marvel, who's in the back, she will be a soon-to-be LASD student. Hopefully next year she'll start TK. And yeah, so well, sorry. You might ask yourself, why all this teaching experience without the credentials? Well, that's partly why I'm here to talk to you today. I've been through, this is my third credentialing program. The first credentialing program I went through, I did a whole year of the credentialing program and it wasn't accredited. And they didn't tell me it wasn't accredited until halfway through the program. So then I, decided that a master's wasn't enough and it wasn't going to allow me to continue teaching. And so that's when I ended up being a dean of culture at the school. Eventually, I went through a second program, went to an online program for EL students, and that got too expensive. I couldn't do that anymore. And again, with my daughter on the way, it just wasn't possible. So what does this program provide for me? I mean, it provided me an opportunity to actually get this done. Third time the charm, right? Yeah, I think that this program is amazing. I think it's given me the opportunity to finish what I've been trying to finish for years. There is a lot of collaboration that happens, and Joanna talked a little bit about like collaboration that happens within like the classrooms. I want to talk to you a little more about what the collaboration that happens outside of that. So like the people who support us, we go through Teachers College of San Joaquin, and the teachers of the program are amazing. They bring a lot of like hands-on experiences, and even though it's like an online learning experience, it's not necessarily in person. we definitely learned a lot about like classroom management and what it is to be like a classroom teacher. We also get a lot of good help and insight from Scully. They've been very, very helpful with providing us materials for the things that we need. For example, any kind of test prep that we need for TPAs, CSETs. They've been very willing to help us out with that, and have made this experience just way better. And yeah, collaboration with our mentors. Nikki Burke, who's here to also support me. She's my mentor in 5th grade. We are kind of like a well-oiled machine at this point. We plan lessons together, we plan assessments, we grade together, we pretty much do everything together, and it's really nice to see the impact that that's had on students. Our class currently has a lot of emerging bilingual students, and to see that these students, because they see that there are 2 people in the classroom and mainly one person that actually speaks some of the languages that are in the classroom, they've been able to thrive. We have a lot of student participation in that class from emerging bilingual students. There's not a lot of students that are emerging bilingual that kind of sit back. They're often participating. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're co-teaching. And yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me speak here. And I just wanted to say how amazing this was, and I'm ready to get this over with and then start again next year. So thank you all very much.
I'm Amanda Clayton. I am a special education teacher here at Covington, and have been for the last 8 years. Before that, I was in Michigan and North Carolina. And then I am a mom of 2. I have Nolan, who's 5, and Mara, who's 2. Nolan went through the preschool here, and Mara hopefully will be doing that in the fall. So I will talk to you about being a mentor in this program and kind of the commitment and what it has done for me and working with my resident as well. So personally, as a mentor, this program has helped increase my confidence as an educator. I had to be intentional about what I was teaching and why I was teaching it. I was asked questions about my teaching, which made me think about what I was doing and why I was doing it. We kind of went through the whole step and the process together. It came at a time in my career, 13 years in, where I was looking for something else. And to change up the day-to-day, and mentoring was the perfect thing. I was able to build relationships with other mentors, my resident, the county, and really just start to explore the world of educator prep, which was really exciting to me. Professionally, my communication skills have increased. I had to explain everything that I was doing, and then provide reasons and, support for that. So I worked with my resident on clear, concise communication, how to deliver information. I think one way, and she may not always think that way. So I had to explain it, and I got to grow in how I was a coach and my supportive coaching format. I really had the opportunity to focus on my leadership skills and grow in that area. My resident and I would sit down and have our day-to-day debriefs and problem solve. So I learned from her, and I saw situations from a different perspective. So how I would tackle a problem, she didn't always see it that way, and it helped me grow professionally and personally. Because my resident was with me from the start of the year till the end of the year, that's what's really unique about this program. Having student taught 13 years ago, and you go in partway through the school year, you don't get to see the beginning, and that's a huge part to miss, or you don't get to see the end. So I got to explain why I do back to school night this way and parent teacher conferences that way. And when we get to the end of the year, why we do the end of the year this way. So I think that's a huge benefit for her when she goes out into the, as a teacher next year. She got to see how we set up our schedule. In the special education world, our schedule is very complex. And so she got to see me build it and then change it and change it again and change it again. And she also questioned me and asked why we changed these things. And I think our SDC program is more welcoming, rigorous, and a robust place where the students get to work on their social skills, their independence, their academics. We're doing some really cool things that I didn't think of. So I really enjoyed this program. The staff I work with has also been excited about this program. I think we have a lot more interest for next year, if this program continues. So I was really excited to be a part of this program. And anything else anyone would like to add? Any questions? Is there questions or you want to add?
I can
Kelly, go
jump in.
for it.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lonergan. I'm the coordinator for the teacher residency program at SCCOE. You just heard a ton about the model itself, like teacher residency. It got started in California in 2018, so it's newer. Tons of data nationally on why it's an effective model, but I specifically wanted to highlight
not residency, but residency at LASD. This is absolutely true. I use Los Altos as my exemplar partner with districts joining our grant, right? So SEC, we are the grant kind of funnel to our district partners for this program. And that's all due, to Erin and the high touch support she gives the mentors, the residents, the site administrators, right? The special education director, all those moving parts, she manages them so mindfully and intentionally, right? And you can see it. The mentors are incredible. The candidates are so strong and so equipped to be just amazing teachers in their own classroom. And Erin and I are already kind of ideating and planning for next year, right? To refine and improve and make it an even stronger program. And that's like truly because of what a great partner you all are and Erin in particular. So
great district support.
yeah, yeah, you guys are, it's a fantastic, I love residency. It's already my kind of like soft spot in my heart, but working with Los Altos this year, like Erin said, right? It's a new partner here for our grant program. And I'm just so grateful we're going to keep it going next year. That's all I wanted to add.
How many other districts in the county are participating?
Yeah, we have 9 districts total on our grant. It's a CTC grant program. So I'm happy to share. I don't want to take all your time, but I can give a little bit more granular. So teacher residents receive a $25,000 stipend in exchange for a 4-year teaching commitment to public schools in the state of California. The dream is they're hired at the county or district, right, where we train them, but we embed that flexibility. And then mentors for their service get a $5,000 stipend broken into 2 chunks. So we're working with 8 districts, a variety of credential areas. Yeah.
Everyone.
Thank you.
We're so
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. All right, our next agenda item. Oh, sorry. Were there any requests for public comment? District communications up.
Yes, well, we're thrilled you've heard her name before, but you haven't had the chance to meet her yet, but we're so happy to welcome Lynette White, our new communications gal to our team, and she's gonna talk a little bit about what she's been up to and what we have planned for the future.
Yeah, following the students and then now right in the room and he's out, I'm like, it's all good. So good evening to the board members, Superintendent McGonigal, staff, everyone who's still here. Thank you for still being here. So this is the slide that I hate the most, but Sandra really wanted me to introduce myself. So I'm Lynette White. I've been in education for 16 years. I actually started as a classified employee, and then eventually was Marcy for a school district. My superintendent saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, which made me go back to school to get my degree. So I have a bachelor's in communications as well as a master's in communications with an emphasis on education. I'm a national speaker at this point. I have gotten the wonderful opportunity to speak across the country about leveraging social media to really tell a district story, branding for educators and branding for school districts. I also have a podcast, the Social Chats podcast. It's actually internationally known at this point, so I'm super excited about that. I am an author. So my dream came true last year in April, the Ed Branding book, which I did leave a copy for each of you. Came out last year. It was #1 on Amazon for, a hot second. And then, but I'm gonna ride that until the end. So my dream came true with my co-author, Dr. Renee Bryant, who's also amazing. It's just our passion project of all of our conference presentations, I think, telling educators how to really tell their story, stop being so humble, share the amazing things that are going on in public education. And we kept getting asked, when are you gonna write a book? So we wrote a book. And then I'm also founder and CEO of Lynette White Social LLC. And so that's how I'm here today. And this is our team, Brianna Benavides. She is my Chief Communications Officer. Her background is in graphic design, branding, strategic communications. She is a rock star.
and a little bit of nepotism. That's my daughter, Kaya White. She is a college student at this point, but she is an incredible graphic designer, and best of all, she's getting to mentor under her mom and Brianna. And so together we've worked with a bunch of organizations you can see at this point, and we're really proud of the partnerships that we've gotten to form with these organizations, as well as the partnership with LASD. And so there's my book again, yay. And so my very first meeting with the leadership team at Los Altos, I was asked to maybe give them a few questions, a little bit of a survey to see what's the temperature, what's going well. Like, I really want to know what's going really great here, because then I don't want to change that, right? So my very first question was, what is going well? And you can see there was so much on what's going well. The partnership with the district, obviously communication is very strong between the district and the staff at the sites. Principals rock. I thought that was really cute. 5 bullets and, you know, a little bit of everything, right? You see media, you see some social media, you see messages and things like that. And then I asked, in terms of communications, what could use some improvement? Because this is where we really want to dial in and do what the community needs. Where do they want to get their information and how? And so the first thing that pops out, you can see there's a lot less of what's not going well, right? Which is always positive. But website is a major concern across the district. Today I met with Oak, I met with Loyola, and I met with a couple departments, and same thing. Very first thing that they asked me about was, when can we revamp our website? Newsletters are also a major concern amongst the leadership team as well, and you can see that repeated a few times. And so next step. So now that I've asked the leadership team, like, what's going well, what could use some improvement? Next steps is I'm going to continue my site visits. So I'm meeting with each principal, any departments that would like to meet with me, really any staff members that want to meet with me, and just talk about how can we streamline communications? How can we make it the best that it can be? And then community input. We definitely want a community input survey, and we're going to be doing that in April. So we'll be getting some questions from the site level, some questions from the foundation, as well as questions from the district office, to make sure that our community gets to have a say-so on how they're getting communications. A lot of times districts think more is more, but less is more. I'm the parent of 3 kids, and I remember getting 3 different versions of newsletters that were like 3 miles long, and I know I didn't read them all. So how can we make that better so people actually want to read the information? So streamlining newsletters is like #1 on my list. Community communications, I want to make it so that the community is well informed, but also not overwhelmed. I don't want them to feel like they're getting too much from us at any given time. And then focus on innovative marketing strategies. I'm hearing some things about some charters in the neighborhood, and how we can market a little bit better against, you know, the charters that are going to be in the neighborhood. That is a problem across the entire country. It's what I hear from any district that I work with. And so there's some great strategies that we're going to do behind that. I really want to work on aligning our messaging with the LASD strategic plan. I want to make sure that everything that we're sending out to the community has some alignment behind it. There's got to be a reason why and a rationale why we're communicating the things that we're communicating to our community, so that it makes sense for us as a district. And then I have this really cool thing called the Brand Ambassador Program. So through my publisher, I developed an online course that really shows people in districts how to leverage social media to tell their story, but also some strategic communication strategies. And that's all free to your staff members. So any staff member or yourselves that want to join the course, just let me know. We'll sign you up. It's asynchronous. They're all recorded. And then we can have some conversation afterwards. And then another thing that I have is tell me something good. So these cards will be handed out at school sites, handed out at events. My email is on there, as well as a QR code that goes directly to a Google Drive where you can drop in content of anything good that's going on. So like the cute presentation today, you took a picture of that, send it on there, give me a quick blurb of what it is, and then it'll be on your social media. It might be in a superintendent's newsletter. We'll definitely use that stuff, but I think the best way to tell the story is to tell the story as a community. I can tell a great story on my own, but those who are living and breathing it every day can tell the story way better than me. Teachers in the classroom will experience their students in a way different manner than I will any day of the week. So I really encourage people to share some things and tell me something good. And that's it. That's me on a really good day, but thank you, and that's where you can find me. Do you have any questions for me?
That's wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes.
So I read some of your, well, first of all, I Googled you.
Okay.
You were murdered in 1988 and you've risen again, so.
Oh, yes, that's the lady who comes up all the time, a British lady, yeah.
So I looked at some of your testimonials. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are some instances where things didn't go as well as you had hoped?
In terms of communications?
Yes. So the testimonials are the positive side.
Mhm.
So presumably you approach things from a certain point of view the same way, right? So that worked really well for those. When did it not work as well as you would have liked?
Oh, definitely. I think early on in my career, like I definitely thought copy paste, you know, like this situation is the same. It's the same situation that you're describing to me, so let's just treat it exactly the same. Now I know each district has nuances. There's so much more to a story that you need to dig in a little bit deeper before you think one size fits all on a communication. And so now Sandra and her team, I know some of the principals in the audience, I've worked with very closely with different situations that have come up. And while I may have a template for something that will guide us, every situation is different. So everything that you'll receive is customized based on the situation, based on any of the factors that factor into that situation. So that was definitely a learning experience for me of it's not one size fits all, like your textbook says, like just use this letter and it'll work perfectly. No, that doesn't work in real life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Is there any public comment?
I do just want to say, you know, in visiting your school sites, I was mentioning to superintendent today, your staff is so happy. Your students are so happy. It's so great to walk into the classrooms and everybody's like, hi, how are you? Like they have no idea who I am. They're just really gracious and kind and welcoming. And that's from staff to students. It's been great.
We're a very special community, I would
Yeah.
say. It feels like a family here.
It does, yeah.
We're happy to welcome you to our family.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynette.
Second intern financial report.
All the kids laugh.
Ah.
I know.
I'm kidding, I won't think.
That's okay. So good evening, board. Tonight, we're here to present the second interim, which is the financials from July 1st and any changes in revenue or expenditures and adjusting our budget from July 1st through January 31st. And we're gonna try to go as quickly as we can on this. Since the budget was adopted in July, July 1st, our secured property tax growth since first interim, a slight decrease of only $1,000, and that's in homeowner exemptions. Our in lieu transfer to Bullis Charter School is a decrease by 361,000. And that's because COLA only went up 1.07%, but their ADA, which is how we're funded there for the in lieu transfer, their ADA went down by almost 30 students. So that's a significant drop in revenue. So that's a decrease in our transfer out, which is actually an increase in revenue for us. And that's reflected in your SACS forms under the LCFF categories. And then the local revenue is an increase of $352. There's some used fees, rentals, and some PTE donations. Expenditures, you can see a large increase in expenditures of $4.7 million. And that's an increase for all the salaries for LATA, CSEA, and also for management. Books and supplies is a slight decrease of $460,000, where we reallocated some of those funds into some different budgets. And then also putting some of that into special education, you can see a large increase, and also the cafeteria fund. These are mostly from salary increases for both the staff that are allocated to that. As you know, we transfer, it's gonna be over $1 million at second interim into the cafeteria fund, which is an underfunded mandate from the state of California, and their contribution to special education has increased to $839,000. So our secured property tax growth is still holding at 5.62%. We get our annual We get a monthly report from the assessor's office. There'll be one more meeting coming up in May. Our parcel tax is holding firm at $10.2 million. These are all in the forms, but our guaranteed state aid is constant every single year at $654,000. Mandated block grant is ongoing funding from the state, and that will vary and change. And also Prop 30 lottery, these three numbers will change as our enrollment decreases. These are funded on ADA, so as our ADA drops, those numbers will go down a little bit, but then it'll also be offset by maybe a slight COLA increase. And then do the charter school going forward, it'll be an increase. Next year will go up a little bit. But right now it's holding at 10.3. Next year's COLA is predicted to be a little over 2.4%. This is kind of a breakdown of how and this year I did double decimals to make sure it all matched out, because sometimes the numbers don't round perfectly. But local revenue is really all property taxes. And then the parcel tax, if you look at all local revenue, property taxes plus the parcel tax, is almost 93% of our budget is local in nature. Very little money comes from the federal government. And we're watching that closely. As we know, there's a lot of upheaval in Washington. We're not sure what's going on with funding for federal funds flowing to the schools. And then the state funding obviously is about 6.6%, a little over 6%. Secured property tax growth from first interim to second interim, not much changes. We don't expect to see any changes unless there's a big housing turnover between now and end of June. We won't see it. That won't seem likely because the rules are already been set for this year. 3-year summary, you can see property tax is growing, but not at the same rate it was 4 years ago. 8.4%. It's still growing 5.9, but there's that now at 5.62. We need about 4% ongoing property tax just to pay for ongoing expenses, increases in healthcare, utilities, and so on. COLA, cost of inflation, for some books and supplies and contracted services. So always be mindful of our long-term property tax growth, because this is ongoing and a compound. So this is the number that we watch of all the things we look at our budget. Every number and every funding revenue source is important, but our property taxes is the most important. Including our second interim budget is an 8.5% increase for LAT and CSEA, an 8.5% increase for the confidential, which we'll be approving tonight with the AB 1200 disclosure, and then a 7% increase for certificated management. Certificated management are principals, directors and coordinators on the certificated side. The confidentials are executive assistants, supervisors, most classified supervisors, maintenance, technology. Step and calm is about 1% for all three groups. 1% is about $500,000. Health and welfare benefits is a very slight decrease of $4,000, and our statutory benefits. So for every dollar payroll, we pay $1.22 for certificated, and for classified, it's $1.36 for every dollar payroll. State revenue, this is the cafeteria fund, which I mentioned earlier. I want to point out the only really local revenue we get is some interest that's in the fund, and all other is going to be food, supplies, and things. No major changes, but that transfer out, as you can see, the general fund contribution from unrestricted to this fund 13 goes from 864 to 1.061. So it's a little bit of an increase, mostly from the salary side. So we're gonna be watching this. And again, we won't know the true cost of the program until we close the books at the end of the year. And then the federal funds that we received from the federal government for the National School Lunch Program, we're hoping to get $333,000. We think this year those numbers are safe, but in the out years, we're not sure what's gonna happen with any of the title funds and with National School Lunch Program. But for right now, these numbers, we're feeling very confident for these numbers as well. And the revenue and the claims come in much later. So sometimes we don't really get the reimbursements. We have to have cash in this fund. So that's why we need that transfer to make sure that Fund 13 is solvent to pay our bills for the cafeteria fund. Special education contribution. This is one that every school district is watching very closely. And we're not like anyone else, but I want to point out the total expenses of special ed have gone up from 16.4 to 17.4. It's over $1 million increase. And so we're going to be mindful of that. A lot of this is our salaries of our staff. And so we're being very mindful of that. This all other is transportation. It's also non-public school, for example. You could have 1 or 2 students to add to your caseload. We had one student that came in that's a non-public school. Between now and the end of school year, it's a $50,000 increase in the budget. So just for one student for only a couple months. So we want to be mindful of those things. And we're being very mindful of special education, staffing going forward. Not only do we have to show for this current year, but we also have to look in the multi-year projections, which we're required to do. Our secured property taxes right now is 5.62%. The last number that we got from the county assessor's office at the very first day of March was 3.95. So a 4% property tax growth we feel is very good, is a good number to use for now. And every month, as we get more information, we'll adjust these numbers accordingly. And we're hoping that this number by adopted budget will be up to 5, but we have 2 more months of numbers from the assessor's office, and we will go, whatever number we get from the assessor's office on May 1st, that's the number we have to go with for adopted budget. Parcel tax is 10.2 going forward. And then this is the COLA change and the COLA adjustment. The COLA goes up 4% per year. And all these numbers are held constant, but I want to point out, these numbers will fluctuate based on our ADA. Step and column is about 1% per year. We've been working very hard at that continued effort of right-sizing staffing. This current year, we reduced our staffing to 11, and we wrote to be determined for next year because we're still finalizing enrollment projections for next year. We also know we will be adding at least 1 more TK, possibly 2 more TK classes next year, but there'll also be some staffing retiring, moving on and going. We heard people excited about all the changes going on in our district with all the communication. But people, they love to retire, right? So we're really happy for Lisa to come over, but we are getting this Connie. But this right size staffing is something we're working on. Our cabinet team will be working on that. We've been talking about it with our budget review committee and CACF. So we're gonna be putting our cabinet team heads together. We did 40 FTEs in 2 years. So we're gonna try to see what staffing levels will be next year. But right now it's a little too early to tell. But probably by adopted budget, we'll have a pretty good number of what we need to do for staffing reductions for next year. And then the thing that is one of our largest expenses is our health and welfare premiums for staff. We have to budget about 10% increase. Last year is a 13% increase for Kaiser premiums. So we're always being mindful of these costs. They are going up as more people are leaving the state. Kaiser is not only a healthcare provider, but they're also an insurance company. So if there's less people paying into the insurance company, Kaiser was gonna have to raise their rates because they have a lot of big facilities that they have to operate. So we're gonna be very mindful of these costs going forward. Multi-year revenue, the LCF revenue is mostly property taxes is the biggest driver of these. And the federal revenue right now, we're still gonna hold it flat in the out years. We do get a slight increase in COLAs, but with the declining ADA, we're gonna hold flat. And these numbers, a slight increase. The parcel tax is gonna be a slight increase for the COLA. And the other local, I want to point out, the other local right now is at 6.4. And then in the out years, we have some grants that we have that are in our budget that are going to be going away. And then we also don't budget in the out years for any other donations and things because they're not guaranteed. But in this other local is also the 2.5 million late contribution. So I want to point that out. Our general fund salaries, you can see the large increase of salaries is going to be going up. And then in the 3rd year, the only increase will see a step and column, which is about $500,000 a year. Supplies and other, you see the drop off, and that's from the restricted funds that we have in our budget. I try to detail it in your new narrative and assumptions of all the different funding sources and all the different restrictions on there. You know, I'm trying to cough too. The other financing uses, that's the transfer out to the cafeteria fund. So right now we're predicting 1.0 and a slight increase in the out years. Fund balance, beginning fund balance is as we close the books, 21.6 million. And you can see we're in a slight deficit this year, but then in the 2 out years is where we're gonna have to do the work. We're hoping by the time we close the books that this number will get down much lower, which we think we can. We know we have some budgeted people that are in our budget that are staffing that we have not hired. So we do have about 400,000 of vacancies that we have not filled. And not that we're doing a hiring freeze, but we're being very mindful of not hiring somebody when we're already in the middle of March. We might not need that person for the rest of the year. So there is some money that is budgeted that has not been used. And Fund 17 is our special reserves. So you can see our reserves are going to be decreasing. That's that projection right now at today's second interim. We feel with some belt tightening in the future, and also before we close the books, those numbers will look a little bit better. And that's kind of where we're at. So tonight, this is a kind of a highlight of our key budget deadlines. We're at second interim tonight. Sites will be receiving allocations pretty soon, and really, it's hard to believe we're less than 3 months away before the end of the school year. And we'll be doing a public hearing in June and adopting a budget June 9th. And tonight, we're asking the board that we can meet our financial obligations for the current year and the 2 out years and have a positive certification at second year. That's the fastest I think I've ever done second.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any clarifying questions before I take public comment? Is there any request for public comment? No? Open up for board discussion.
I just wanted to say thank you, not just for the presentation, but also for the narrative that was attached to the agenda. I thought that was really helpful.
Second narrative.
I have one question, that. Yeah, the reserves, they go from 23% to 16% to 8%. And then what do they do?
Well, we're in a structural budget deficit at that point, so there's gonna have to be some belt tightening, but again, that's projection now. By the time we adopt our budget, we have to be above 3%. So when we adopt our budget in June, our reserve will be above 3%. And if we can show multi-year reductions, then we can get back into that 8% for policy.
Okay, because the 8.08% is just barely in board policy.
That's correct. Okay. And that's based on today's projections.
So,
Do you think we need to revisit our reserve policy?
You know, reserves are important. There's also cash. We need to have adequate reserves to one, if, let's say, for example, the state took us over. And they said you're gonna be now become an LCFF district, and they're gonna take our excess property taxes away. We would need those reserves to make some programmatic changes and to have some time to make some structural changes to our how we fund our schools. I don't think when they say how much reserves you need, my answer is always there's never enough. But you know, reserves are important to soften the fall, to make programmatic. If there's a wildfire and it spreads throughout Los Altos and we lose schools, we need to have reserves. Reserves are how we pay our bills. We have to have it on hand to our families in our community. They expect to have their paycheck paid for. So when you get low on reserves, it's not good. Most basic aid school districts, to answer your very lovely question, is you want to have at least 15 to 20% reserves for basic aid school districts.
Okay,
That's best practice.
thank you. I'm glad that we're not very dependent on federal funding right now. Board members, any other questions? Okay, so this is an action item. So, may I have a motion to approve the 2024-25 second interim financial report?
so moved.
Thank you, Vladimir. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stella. Motion to approve the 2024-25 second interim financial report was made by Vladimir and seconded by Stella. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion passes. Thank you, everyone, and thank you especially Eric. Hey, you're back up there again. Resolution number 24/25-13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an action item. This authorizes the district staff to make any income and expenditure movements from the general fund and any other funds. Normally, what we do is we adopt a single resolution in May, and then we ask the board to adopt resolutions every time we go to first and second interim. And this is to do any budget transfers during the current fiscal year. So tonight, we're asking you to adopt resolution 24/25-13 to authorize an increase and decrease of income and expenditures. The action item.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions? Is there any public comment? No? Any further board discussion? Okay, in that case, may I have a motion to approve resolution number 24/25-13, authorization to increase/decrease income and expenditures?
So moved.
Thank you, Vladimir. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stella. Motion to approve resolution number 24/25-13 was made by Vladimir and seconded by Stella. This is a resolution, so we have a roll call vote. Stella?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Vladimir?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
I too vote yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Non-represented employee compensation.
Yes, so tonight attached to this item, you have salary schedules and the report from the county. Highlighting the compensation increase for our, as Eric just said, our confidential group and our administrator groups. With confidentials getting an 8.5% raise over 2 years retroactive, and our principals and administrator groups getting a 7% raise over for each of the 2 years retroactive. We're hoping you will approve those tonight.
Other clarifying questions for Sandra? No? Is there any public comment? No? Okay. Is there any further board discussion? No? Okay. In that case, may I have a motion to approve the non-represented employee compensation? Thank you, Vladimir. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Stella. Motion to approve the non-represented employee compensation as presented was made by Vladimir, seconded by Stella. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Motion passes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, and our final item, board buddy assignments.
Yes, so this came, I think, after an AEC conference perhaps, or conversation, and so wanted to give you all a time to, maybe Stella wants to kind of introduce the item a little bit. And then have a time to discuss whether it's something that you all want to move forward with.
This is an idea that I think we got from Sylvia Leong with the Cupertino Union School District. So maybe actually our new principal knows something about it. We could consult her. But they do board buddies where like each board member is assigned a couple of schools in the district where they get to know that school community better and attend events at the school, and is sort of a point of contact for, you know, staff and families at the school. And I thought, oh, that's an idea we could explore here in our district.
Thank you. Well, this is open for discussion. Anybody want to comment?
Can I add my 2 cents?
Yes,
perhaps
yes.
Before
Yes,
the
please.
commenting begins, I think if it's something you want to consider, or we can explore more, I would want clear definitions around like, what is the buddy program? Like, what are the expectations of the board member attending different things, all of that. I want to make sure that we still keep our traditional lines of communication, like for a parent concern, I would want parents to go to the teacher and then the principal. You know, we have like our typical chain of command, so I want to make sure that it's just clear what the role is if we go forward with that.
I would also like to add, that let's say one of you is assigned to whatever school, that the other board members would also be welcome to go when they have like concerts and things, or is it just the board buddy goes?
I mean, I haven't seen it implemented.
I think it could be anything we design it to
Okay.
be if there's
That
an
might be something to
interest in it.
consider.
But I don't think you should close off.
Right, that's what I want to. I think we should also, like, going back to the proper chain of command and communications, that, we don't want anyone to think that they can circumvent that by going straight to the board buddy. That would be my concern.
But I think, I mean, I'm not recalling it 100%, but I think the idea behind it was just that board members were a little more visible to the community and not such a mysterious, but, yeah, so my presumption would be people would not necessarily, I mean, I can see how they would try to circumvent the process, but I think our board would not allow that.
Well, I do agree. I think our board is very well steeped in good governance, and they would know that. Yeah.
And I was just going to say that the way I had imagined it was that, you know, like for Jim and I, we have kids that are still at the elementary school, so we are there pretty often, just attending events for our own children. But our presence there gives us an opportunity to connect with the families and not in such a formal setting, right? And so I think I just had thought, oh, maybe that's sort of the benefit is that you build these relationships just for the sake of that relationship and not necessarily only when issues arise, you know, that you have that, you know, you have those shared experiences and that familiarity together. So then if anything does come up, then there's like a very strong foundation.
And for those of us who no longer have kids in the district, we don't have that natural, what's happening on campus kind of perspective.
Right.
Brian?
I mean, I'm not allergic to it, that's the standard concerns and, I mean, I can sort of see Cupertino's as a district, I think it's sort of 3 times the size of ours, so I can see how that would be an issue where people just never see the board members around. Not sure we have the same problem, but I would certainly be open to sort of a reset of sort of board expectations or, you know, plan for outreach. I mean, we just heard from our new communications director who talked about branding, and this seems like there's a potential to dovetail quite well there of like setting up a structure for us as a board to be getting out into the community more. And so I think that's fine as long as we define it properly.
I'm not against it. I'm a little bit hesitant about the benefits or what I see. I know that we've all had implanted in us a little button which Sandra pushes. And then we go, okay, all right, that was the wrong thing to say. Okay. So I think we're all well trained on that part there. I don't think there's potential for looping around there. I've been to some meetings at Bulls, Guardian Bulls. And even though I might be identified, oh, there's a board member there, nothing. So I'm not sure there's much benefit there. That's the only thing. If you guys think it's worthwhile, we can certainly try it, do it for a trial.
Maybe we need to do a little more research and ask Cupertino about how it's implemented and what they see as the benefits. You know, and like maybe talk to some parents who have found it beneficial if they can identify some.
Well, I could.
No, I was just gonna say, it also, that this came up also. Along with the idea of board having office hours, or I know at some point we used to have that. I know just in my short time on the board, there's probably been 3 people who have come to me and said something. And or asked something about the board, and I haven't had the answer, but I've said, well, you can reach out to Charlie, she's the president of the board, or you can, you know, talk to Brian, he knows. I'm like, oh, are you allowed to do that? And I'm like, of course you're allowed to do, I mean, like, I agree, we're small enough, most people know, but I think there still is a little bit of a disconnect. So this idea or office hours or something that makes us slightly more accessible.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe to your point, Vladimir, maybe isn't, you know, because I've
It
seen.
could be me.
Well, no, but I mean, I have seen you at Gardner events and I know like, everybody's like, okay, great, that's a trustee, whatever, you know, and then, you know, so. It may not have, but I don't know, but we did just hire a new principal who probably has experience with this, so it would be good to
Oh, right, she's from Cupertino.
ask her what her, you know, how she's seen it work. And maybe see from our principals, like, do they think there's a value in this?
Well, maybe, I mean, so I think Jessica and I were the 2 who did the most sort of attempts at office hours. But even then, I think it was never at school sites, it was always sort of out in the community, because part of that effort was to get out in front of the non-parent community. So I think it might be interesting, depending on sort of what events the school has going on, we're trying to office hours in conjunction with principal coffee. I know different schools do different things in terms of giving parents a chance to show up and ask questions, but yeah, might be a good idea.
I think it's definitely a good idea to be more accessible to our parents, be more visible. I have to introduce to like concerts and things. I stand up and I wave, like nobody comes and talks to me. So, but again, like you said, good meeting.
I will say, I'll jump ahead, but I attended the iftar dinner. At the table, it was the same table as I was in. Yeah, talking about the 10th site, imagine that. And I mentioned that we were considering moving to a middle school now. Oh, is that under consideration? So there's definitely a need for more effective communication. And I could see us playing a role in that. If, for instance, at principal's coffee, there was, Vladimir, do you want to say anything about what the board has been doing? No, they've been all sleeping. Whatever it has to be. Or what are the topics that are coming up over and over again? If we have a little bit of a sort of set agenda, if you want, that would, I think, help a lot. Because then people would start to get used to it.
So I wanted also to share something about the IFPAR, which was a great event. And I happened to be in line for food behind a family who has attended Covington and Almond and other schools in the district. And they didn't know that I was a trustee at first, but it was just nice to be able to talk to them. And I don't normally, talk to other families from Almond. And so it was just really pleasant. And then I felt like once we had established that rapport, then if they did have questions about the district and board business, then it would have been easier for them to talk to me about it. But, it was just a social setting and it wasn't so much office hours or like, come tell me your concerns. It's just like, let's get to know each other so that nobody's intimidated by anybody else, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I think it would definitely go a long way towards decreasing the mystery about the board. Because as you can see. We just got So what would be,
I was going to say, I've noticed a huge amount of public comment on the board items that we have.
Oh, yes.
Which actually is a concern. I mean, I think it's a concern.
I hope that with the new communications director, maybe that'll slowly change. But it sounds like do we need
A little more
research,
information. Yeah. Maybe Stella and I can work together to
My sense is
learn a
nobody's
little bit
against it.
more. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
We need to flesh it out a little more too before
Yeah.
considering it more seriously.
Well, it might be interesting to ask Lynette as well, the councilperson, what she's seen work in other districts.
In other spaces, yeah.
Great. Any other thoughts on this? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Stella. Let's move on to board and administration comments.
Two comments. Kimberly mentioned our classified and confidential employee input sessions. We have another one tomorrow in person here at the district office. It's our third opportunity, so we're really looking forward to hopefully having some folks come and give input. That's been really helpful for us to think about training opportunities and ways that we can improve our employees' experience. And on that note, we had our 5th teacher advisory group meeting today, and it was focused on educator well-being. So we took some time and looked at what are current resources available in the district that support well-being, whether it's our benefit package through our health and welfare, or our employee assistance program. And I just want to report to the board, our employee assistance program, or EAP, is accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we had 4 teachers in a group of 20 share testimonials that they've accessed it themselves or for family members. And we're really pleased with the services and linkages.
Great.
That was great. So I was so happy to hear that because we just get a metrics report. We don't get those types of stories. So I thought that was really positive to share, and that they felt in a safe enough space to share kind of that information with us. So that was helpful. And then in addition to talking about current resources, we talked about their ideas for improving educator wellness, and it was really sweet. Many of the comments were around just continuing positive affirmations from their administrators. They really liked hearing and getting positive notes. their ideas for yoga groups, and then just ways we can streamline the work too, and thinking about sub-plans and different things like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
I want to thank the public for being here. I know they only came for that.
I think you've heard your presentation 4 times.
But I want to thank the business staff and Elizabeth especially for all the hard work and support that they provide the district. Not just to me personally, but also they provide service to the district. And I can't tell you how refreshing it is to talk to secretaries and clerks and how helpful they feel that the business staff and maintenance and operations staff. And then the big storms that we had a couple roof leaks, which is pretty par for the course. We did have our arborists out working on some trees over break and they had to come out and do some emergency repairs on a couple trees over at Egan. But our schools held up pretty well. A couple fences fell over, but it was a pretty big storm. But our schools fared pretty well in the storms. And I just want to thank the maintenance and ground staff. They really, they were out to schools, braving the wind and the rain. They got the campuses cleaned up and safe for our kids. So that's really good to them.
Thank you. So,
Well, as we mentioned, a bunch of us attended the IFTAR, and it was a great event, and I did win the raffle. So that was very exciting for me. And I went on a site visit to Loyola with Sandra and attended the Wellness Center opening.
We'll give them all of those things.
Iftar dinner, which, I enjoyed the first one last year. This one, I also enjoyed, but not as much as the first one. And principally because last year there was an imam who spoke. And he was just awesome. I just loved him. And I went up to him later on and told him, there's not a religious bone in my body, but I really liked your, but anyway. So I went to that. That was great. We had a conversation at our table with some parents and also with some administrators, support staff. And then I talked in the office there today with our new Egan principal, whose name I've already forgotten.
Lisa Terramina.
Lisa, I can't get the, I have to see the written in the second one.
isn't it sitting, Cicely?
But Harry, you mentioned educator wellness. One of the topics we talked about was how principals are the meeting point for administration, parents, students, teachers. And I think that's really important to make sure that they're looked after. That's all I want to say.
Right?
In addition to the wellness center openings, I also attended the legislative brunch from the county school board association. Which is interesting as always, a little bit more chaos than usual. So that's about it.
Chaos at the federal level, not at the branch.
Well, the state, I mean, there's always a little bit of state budget chaos.
It was like chaos at the brunch.
A lot of unknowns out there.
Yeah.
And so in another year, there'll be a new governor. For a year and a half, there'll be a new governor, and that's always a change in education funding paradigms as well. So.
Sure. A lot of unknowns. I also attended the legislative brunch with Brian, and it was great. Our newly elected congressional representative for this area, Representative Ricardo, he was there in person. I was very impressed. That was very good. PTA leadership meeting. I'm so happy to see that some of the PTA folks here. Thank you. Challenge team, Ted Lempert came and spoke about, oh god, the report card for Santa Clara County.
Yeah, it's always a heavy one.
It's not so great. I want to thank the Muslim community for inviting us to the iftar dinner. That was a really lovely event. I'm very grateful to be invited. And I was telling someone that last year there was a wonderful imam who spoke. He really made an emotional impact on me. I was thinking about him
was hoping you would be there anyway. Anyway, and then I also attended in person the State of the County event, I guess you could say. The new supervisor board president is Otto Lee from District 3. Lovely, lovely person, very humble, and he's got a good outlook for the county, despite all of the unknowns and stuff. And so he kind of laid out that, like how the county is gonna stand strong. So I love that we live in Santa Clara County. And with that, with my love for Santa Clara County, I will adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you. Thank you.